I received a very interesting question here that I'd like to share with you. It came in on our app. What do you think of a second baptism as an adult if one was baptized as a child? I have been saved since age 10, and I was baptized then. I barely remember it and have grown with the Lord since then. I've had an urge to be baptized again as a 33-year-old adult, but I'm wondering if I could get some opinions on the topic. Well, I'll be happy to respond to that question. Hopefully I can give you some help. There's a wonderful story in the Acts of the Apostles. It's about Philip and an encounter that he had with an Ethiopian. This is very interesting. The idea of the gospel going to Ethiopia very, very early on in the Christian era. And the encounter happened when Philip saw a chariot riding by, and he saw somebody reading a scroll in the chariot. And he got into conversation. Maybe he thumbed a lift, I don't know. And the conversation went like this. Oh, I see that you're reading from the prophet Isaiah. Do you understand what you're reading? And the guy said, how can I understand it unless somebody explains it to me? And so Philip explained it to the Ethiopian. Then they saw some water. And interestingly enough, the Ethiopian says to Philip, is there any reason why I should not be baptized? And obviously there wasn't any reason. Because he was baptized immediately. Now, it's very interesting. He didn't understand the gospel. It was explained to him. He responded to the gospel and immediately was baptized. And that's how it was in the early days of Christianity. In fact, believing and being baptized went hand in hand to such an extent that sometimes the writers in the Bible, like the Apostle Paul, would just talk about baptism. And they wouldn't necessarily mention belief. That was just understood. You didn't believe and not be baptized. You didn't get baptized and not believe. The two went hand in hand. Now, since that time, of course, there have been many, many things added to the doctrine of baptism, and various church traditions don't necessarily agree on the subject. Now, to get back to your question. As a young girl, you heard the gospel. First, you didn't understand it. You asked for explanation. Presumably, you were helped with an understanding of this. And in the end, you, on the basis of what you understood, you trusted your life to Christ, and you were baptized. What that means is that the act of receiving Christ was then sealed by the action of baptism. You believed and were baptized. I would say, therefore, your baptism, on the basis of you hearing and understanding and believing, and then being baptized, was a valid baptism. Now then, is there any need to be rebaptized? No. If that was a valid baptism, then you should rejoice in it. Now, I can understand that as a 33-year-old, your knowledge of Christ has grown immeasurably since that time. But what I would suggest is this: look back to that experience as a young person that was a genuine response to the gospel and a genuine desire to honor Christ in baptism. Look back to that with thanksgiving. I would say if you want to reaffirm your trust in Christ by being baptized again, there's no reason why you shouldn't do it, but don't do it thinking, now this one works and the other one didn't. I believe the first one would be valid. I think this one would be basically for your well-being, and I would suggest, rather than doing a baptism again, I think it probably would be better if you find another way of expressing your commitment to Christ.